got any questions?
Mike.
Got any questions?
Hey.
Brothers got any questions? Got any questions, brother? No brothers got no questions.
Break down Acts 15.
All right, let's go to it. Acts chapter 15, verse 1. Yeah, what about Acts 15 to break down?
We're talking about the circumcision.
I can't hear you.
My bad. When they talk about the circumcision.
When they talk about the circumcision?
The brother yesterday talking, saying that circumcision wasn't given to the Gentiles.
Wasn't given to the Gentiles? Okay, God, let's go to it.
Acts chapter 15 and verse number 1.
Bring it out.
And certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren and said, except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moses, ye cannot be saved.
Now you cannot be saved, right? Give me the book of Galatians, right? Chapter 5, verse 1. Give me the book of Galatians, right? Chapter 2 and verse number 6. I want that verse. Galatians 2 and 6.
It's the book of Galatians, chapter 2 and verse 6.
Matter of fact, start at verse 2.
Verse 2. And I went up by revelation and communicated unto them that gospel which I preach among the Gentiles.
Right, so Paul went up to Jerusalem after 15 years and went to go revelate unto the gospel that Yahushua gave him. Read on.
But privately to them which were of reputation.
The reputation was what? The Sanhedrin. Right? Peter, James, John, all of those men that had authority that you see him going up to in Acts 15. Right, read on.
Lest by any means I should run or had run in vain.
Right, he had to privately go out because men were spying out the liberty. You understand? Read on.
But neither Titus, who was with me, being a Greek, was compelled to be circumcised. And that because of false brethren.
Because of false brethren. So it said Titus wasn't compelled to be circumcised, but because of false brethren,
unawares brought in, who came in privily to spy out our liberty.
Right there, spying out the grace and mercy that the Lord has given men. You understand? Read on.
Which we have in Yahushua HaMashiach, that they might bring us into bondage.
That they may bring us into bondage. So they're trying to bring those men into bondage. Right, read on.
God, to whom we gave place by subjection. No, not for an hour.
Meaning we didn't give them any subjection over us, that the gospel of Yahushua made profound. Read on.
That the truth of the gospel might continue with you.
Right?
But of these who seem to be somewhat, whatsoever they were, it maketh no matter to me.
And what?
It maketh no matter to me.
No, they gonna rule over Paul.
It maketh no matter to me.
So he said, look, I don't care what the elders are saying. The elders are off, man. He said, look, I'm not gonna make any matter to me. Right, bring that precept out of the Paul.
Book of Galatians, chapter 5, and verse 1. Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Yahushua had made us free.
So he's telling these men to stand free in the liberty that the Lord has given you. So you had the Sanhedrin, you had a lot of Pharisees putting that yoke on men. But Paul is saying to stand free from that, because the Lord set you free from it. Right, read on.
And be not entangled again with the yoke of bondage.
Right?
Behold, I Paul say unto you, that if ye be circumcised, Yahushua shall profit you nothing.
Meaning you don't have to be circumcised. That's what it's saying. It's not going to profit you anything. You don't want to feel compelled like you're going to be put to death, you're going to die and not get the kingdom by being circumcised. You know?
For I testify again,
give me the book of
every
Genesis,
man
chapter 17 and 12.
That is circumcised, that he is a debtor to do the whole law.
Meaning he's adept to do now all the law, just because he feels compelled, not having the grace of Yahushua to prevail over you. Huh? So a lot of brothers that may feel like, well, I don't know, the small tedious of things is going to get them from the kingdom. And Yahushua set you free from all of that, man. But you had these men setting that yoke and that bondage over those men. Go to Galatians chapter 6 and verse number 12.
God, Galatians chapter 6 and verse 12. As many as desire to make a fair shoe.
It says as many. The as many is these Sanhedrin men, man. He had a council of 71 elders in the Sanhedrin, which was the greater Sanhedrin. These men, it says as many, read that again.
As many as desire to make a fair shoe in the flesh.
Right, meaning cut you physically.
They constrain you.
They do what?
They constrain you.
No, it's all love.
They constrain you.
These men were constraining men to do these things, man. Like if a brother grabbed up a brother and said, you better do this or you're going to die, man. These men were abusing their liberty in the Lord.
Right.
You know?
To be circumcised, only lest they should suffer persecution for the cross of Yahushua.
Right.
For neither they themselves who are circumcised keep the law.
They don't even keep the law. So these men that are circumcised are hypocrites. You had the Gentiles that were uncircumcised, their righteousness and their faith supersedes these men that were hypocrites. So you gotta ask yourself, yeah, Paul was teaching these men that you can get circumcised, but you're not willing under the yoke to be destroyed if you don't. Right, we don't?
But desire to have you circumcised.
And that's off, man. You sitting up there desiring a brother to be circumcised all day. The brother's sitting there having a conversation with you, he just, he better be circumcised, man. Or I'm gonna grab this brother up. And they was yanking up people, man, checking them. Right? Read that again.
Salakia.
Oh,
but desire to have you circumcised, that they may glory in your flesh.
And they were glorying in men's flesh. Yeah, I got this brother circumcised. Yeah, this brother right here, I got him circumcised. He's under me. He listen to me. Right? That's off, man. So they was taking these men, putting these yokes on them, glorying over their damn secret parts. You know?
But Yahweh forbid.
What the Lord say?
But Yahweh
Don't
forbid.
get grabbed up.
But Yahweh
And
forbid
the Lord said, Yahweh forbid that what?
that I should glory, save in the cross of our Lord.
Meaning I'm only going to glory in Yahweh, man. I'm not glorying in the flesh. A lot of brothers, they glory off of the beard, man. They take their pick out, right? They just start picking, man. For no apparent reason, man. Just putting all little oil in it, and they're glorying in their beard. Or they're glorying in their so-called muscles, or their stature, or their hair, or whatever the case may be, man. That's carnal. Or they're glorying how long their fringes are. Hey, the Lord said through the hand of Paul, I'm only going to glory in Yahweh Shah, Mashiach Wamallah. You know?
By whom the world is crucified unto me, and I unto the
Now
world.
go to Galatians chapter 5 and start at verse number 10.
God, Galatians 5 and verse 10.
And go to Acts chapter 16 and verse 1.
I have confidence in you through the Lord, that ye will be none otherwise minded.
Right, I'm gonna have confidence in these men that I'm teaching, that they're not gonna be wavering all over the place. Give me Galatians chapter 3 and verse 3. Because a lot of men, they were all over the place, get bewitched, tricked, baffled, overthrown. Paul said he had confidence in his church, you know?
But he that troubleth you shall bear his
What
judgment.
the Lord say?
But he that troubleth you
Who was
shall
those
bear
men?
his judgment.
Damn troubling everybody, man. Trying to get everybody circumcised. Putting a big yoke, wrapping them around like a cowboy, and then physically dragging these men into councils, situations, condemnations, all of these different things. Read that again.
Salakia. But he that troubleth you
And men were getting trouble, man. You don't want to trouble and offend one of the little ones. The Lord has set them free through the bondage, the yoke that was put upon them, you know?
shall bear his judgment,
He's going to bear his judgment.
whosoever he be. And I, brethren, if I yet preach circumcision,
If I yet preach circumcision,
why do I yet suffer persecution?
he said, if that's the way to get free, then why am I suffering persecution, man? If that's the thing that's going to set you free, by me putting myself in bondage, why am I still in bondage? That's what Paul is saying. And that's deep when you think about it, you know? Because if that's truly the way, why are we still in slavery?
Right.
If that's truly the way, why are we still getting beat? Why is the Roman Empire still ruling over us, man?
Right.
The only thing that's going to set us free is Yahweh Shah.
Come.
Is being free through that law that was placed upon those men, you know?
Then is the offense of the cross ceased.
Is the fence of the cross ceased? Read.
I would they were even cut off.
And the Lord said, I wish that even they were cut off, that what?
Which trouble you?
Which what?
Which trouble you?
These men were troubling these men. So go to the book of Acts chapter 16, verse number 1.
Acts 16 verse 1.
Genesis 17.
Then he came to Derbe and Lystra, and behold, a certain disciple was there, named Timotheus.
Right now, Timotheus, his father was an Israelite, as we know through the Spirit, right? But he was classified as a Greek. Because a lot of men during that time were called Grecians.
Right.
Not because necessarily their father was a Greek or none of these things like that. We know through the whole inhabitants got raped by Alexander the Great.
Right.
And even the so-called Africans were called Grecians.
Right.
You have in the book of Matthew 15, right, that Canaanitish woman. But then when you go to Mark 7 and 25 all the way down, she's called the Greek that served for nation by nation. When actually that's just talking about she's a Hellenized Grecian woman that's really a Canaanite. Right, read that.
And that word in the Greek is Helleniste, which means a Greek-speaking Jew.
There you go.
Go, reading on. The son of a certain woman, which was a Jewess, and believed, but his father was a Greek,
Father was Greek,
which was well reported by the brethren that were at Lystra and Iconium.
right?
Him who would Paul have to go forth with
He
him,
said him had Paul went to go forth with him
and took and circumcised him because of the Jews.
because of what?
Because of the Jews.
Because of Yahushua.
Because of the Jews.
I mean, he didn't want a man looked at like a hypocrite, right? Like, you know, the Lord may show this brother mercy if he don't have fringes on. But if the big bad Pharisees and Sadducees walking around, he don't want to offend the gospel.
Right.
He don't want to get thrust through, talked about, or diminished by his ministry. So he had to walk circumspectly around certain men. And men are carnal like that, man. Brother, where your fringes at? Brother, I'm just checking the mailbox, brother. You sitting up there jogging with your dog, you happen to bump into Mathalicus' house. He coming outside to take the trash in, man. Now you put a yoke and a collar on the brother and start condemning him, man. Read that again.
Him would Paul have to go forth with him, and took and circumcised him because of the Jews,
Because of the Jews,
which were in those quarters.
because of those Jews that dwelt in those quarters, man. Bring that out in the book of Genesis, 17 and 19.
Con. Genesis 17 and verse 19. And Yahweh said, Sarah, thy wife, shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac.
So we know the promises went to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Jump to verse number 10.
Con.
Start at 9.
Con. Verse 9. And it reads, And Yahweh said unto Abraham, Thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. This is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee.
Right?
Every man, child among you shall be circumcised.
Now hold on. The Lord told him that every man is going to have to be circumcised. Everything in the law is carnal, fulfilling the spiritual aspect of Yahushua. You have a menorah that's physically being burned, but you have the light, which is Yahushua. You have the water in the basin, which you have to wash yourself, but then you have Yahushua, which truly cleanses you. Everything in the law is carnal, and everything through the spirit is everlasting life. So the circumcision of the flesh is foretelling the circumcision of the spirit. So everything in the law had to be made manifest through Yahushua. You know?
And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you.
Right?
And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you.
Now go to Luke chapter 2 and 21 and go to Genesis chapter 17 and 23. 17 and 23.
Genesis chapter 17 verse 23. And Abraham took Ishmael.
Hold on. Now he took Ishmael his son. Now is Ishmael receiving a blessing? No. Read on.
His son, and all that were born in his house.
Right? Took all of his armed servants and everybody that was born in his house. Read on.
And all that were bought with his money, every man among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh
And
of
then
the
what to the heathens?
and circumcised the flesh.
So he took the flesh of the heathens and circumcised it. Now was that covenant truly for the heathens? Is that covenant for everybody around the world? So you can't take that literal and say, well, you know what? Read that. You grab the heathens. You grab that. You drift this in. No. This is all just foreshadowing something.
Right.
The heathens are going to have to be under us in the kingdom.
Right.
They're going to have to keep our laws.
Right.
When you read these laws and read the Old Testament and read, Genesis all the way to Deuteronomy, it's all spiritual. It's all after the order, under Yahushua, man. So even they had to be circumcised,
The
Give me the
flesh
book
of their
Jeremiah 12.
foreskin. And Abraham was 90 years old and 9
So he was an old man, 90 years old and 9.
when he was circumcised.
Now hold on. This is in the 17th chapter. So it says he was 90 years old and 9. But jump to verse 17 and 1.
Con. Verse 17 and verse 1. Chapter 17 verse 1. Con. Salakia. And I will make my covenant between me and thee.
Now hold on. He's making a covenant way before he got circumcised. So the Lord didn't require his flesh before his spirit. The Lord required what first? His what? His spirit first.
And will multiply thee exceedingly.
Well, he had to be circumcised.
And will multiply thee exceedingly.
So the Lord came to him. He didn't say, well, you know what? Clean yourself up. I want to see that on the ground. And I want to see you standing before me all healed up. Right? 8 days later, you come out the womb. I want to see the flesh. No, the Lord want to see the spirit, man. Right. So he came to Abraham, right? He made the covenant with him and he said what? Read on.
And Abraham fell on his face, and Yahweh talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations.
And thou shalt be a father of many nations. Read on.
Neither shall thy name anymore be called Abraham, But thy name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have
Right.
I made thee.
The name should be called no more Abram, but Abraham. So the Lord said, read verse 1 again.
Come.
He said, walk before me and be thou perfect, man.
And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abraham fell on his face, and Yahweh.
Brush that and give me the book of Romans chapter 4 and verse 15. What else I call? Bring that up.
It's the book of Luke, chapter 2 and verse 21.
Right.
And when 8 days were accomplished
When 8 days was accomplished,
for the circumcising of the child,
now the circumcising of the child was Yahushua. Now just because Paul came later doesn't change up the ordinance from old of the law.
Right.
So if you can get circumcised, be circumcised. But if you're caught in this thing uncircumcised, don't feel like you have to be circumcised. You know?
his name was called Yahushua, which was so named of the angel before he was conceived in the womb.
Right?
And when the days of her purification, according to the law of Moses, were accomplished, they brought him to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord.
Right? To present him before the Lord. So Yahushua got circumcised. Right? Now go back to the book of yeah, bring that up. Jeremiah 4:4 and go to Deuteronomy chapter 10 and 16. Bring that up.
Jeremiah chapter 4 verse 4. Circumcise,
Romans 2 and
circumcise yourselves to the Lord and take away the foreskins of your heart.
And take away the foreskin of your heart. Bring that out in the book of Deuteronomy 10 and 16. And go to the book of Acts chapter 15 where you left off.
Book of Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse 16. Circumcise therefore the foreskin of your heart.
Now hold on, this is all the way in the law. This is way before you even get to Romans, way before you get to 1st, 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, and 4. So you don't,
And be no more stiff-necked.
and be no more stiff-necked. Go back to the book, right, of Acts chapter 15.
Acts 15 verse 1. And certain men which came down from Judea taught the brethren and said, except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moses, ye cannot be saved.
Right?
When therefore Paul and Barabbas and Barnabas had no small dissension and disputation with them, they determined that Paul and Barnabas and certain other of them should go up to Jerusalem,
Right, go up to the real council to establish the matter, you know?
go up to Jerusalem and to the apostles and the elders about this question.
Because they didn't really think Paul kept the law. Go to the book of Acts chapter 21, hold that, go to Acts chapter 21 and verse number 15. They didn't really believe that Paul was keeping the law. Right. So they had Paul on trial all the time, man. Bring that up.
It's the book of Acts, chapter 21, verse 15.
it out.
And after those days, we took up our carriages and went up to Jerusalem.
And went up to Jerusalem.
There went with us also certain of the disciples of Caesarea, and brought with them one Manasseh of Cyprus, an old disciple, with whom we should lodge. And we were come to Jerusalem, the brother received us gladly. And the day following Paul went in with us unto James, and all the elders were present.
Right, so he checked in, for lack of better terms. Like when a brother from so-called, I guess, Detroit, he come to down Baltimore, he go all the way to Philly. He see all, what they say, the kingpins of the city or whatever. Right. He come check in, man. Right, they say, man, check in or we gonna be on you, man. Right. Hey, you say what? The big homie, man. They gonna be on you if you don't check in. So Paul, when he came down, he went to go see Peter, James, and John. You know?
And when he had saluted them, he declared particularly what things the Most High had brought among the
Because
Gentiles
he had to show them first. You understand? Because those men were in charge. You know?
by his ministry. And when they heard it, they glorified the Lord and said unto him,
Because they wasn't carnal men, they were spiritual men on fire. But the men that were literally around, that were elders, they were carnal. You know?
Thou seest, brother, how many thousands of Jews there are which believe, and they are zealous of the law.
Meaning they will kill you, man. All of these thousands of Jews are zealous for the law. So if you come in something contrary to the law, they may get up with you, man. They may grab you up. Look at all these. What if it was 1,000 Jews and a man, which was Paul? I mean, he had to just say something that was contrary to what everybody has heard. That may be a scary thing, man. Somebody may say the word Yahushua. Who is that? We only know Jesus Christ. And all the Christians, it's an uproar. Right, we don't?
Come on. And they are informed of thee,
Meaning they know you coming.
that thou teachest all the Jews which are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses, saying that they ought not to circumcise their children.
That they what?
That they ought not to circumcise their
So
children.
that was already going around the chit chat about Paul. Paul's coming. Paul's coming. Right, they was going all around thinking that Paul was changing the law around. Right, taking this, moving that here, putting this. naming it this, coloring this shade, coloring that shade. They was all confounded about if Paul was really keeping the law. You know?
Neither to walk after the customs. What is it therefore? The multitude must needs come together.
Man, and they need to come together before they isolate you and kick you out, man. Because Paul had a lot of things that were going on. Go to the book of Acts chapter 23 and verse number 7. And go to the book of Acts chapter 24 and verse number 1. And go to the book of Acts chapter 22. Well, hold that and go to Acts chapter 22 and verse number 16. And read on from there.
Come on. Neither to walk after the customs. What is it therefore? Therefore the multitude must needs come together,
right?
For they will hear that thou art come. Do therefore this that we say to thee. We have 4 men which have a vow on them.
Right, they had the Nazarite vow on them.
Them take and purify themselves with them, and be at charges with them, that they may shave their heads, and all may know that those things whereof they were informed,
everything that was lied upon about Paul
concerning thee are nothing.
Are nothing. So he had to go physically do something in the sight of all men to let them know that he was a law keeper, that he did keep the law, that he's not changing around anything of the law. Bring that out, King.
Acts chapter 23, verse 7. And when he had so said, there arose a dissension between the Pharisees and the Sadducees.
So when Paul was in council, because they had to deliver up Paul, right? Give me the book of Acts chapter 18 and verse 12 first. I want that. Because they were delivering up Paul all the time, man. Paul was so-called contrary. He was America's most wanted, man. Right, for lack of better terms. Everybody hated Paul, man. Except for the righteous. Bring that out, King.
This is Acts chapter 18 and verse 12. And when Gallio was the deputy of Achaia,
right, he was the deputy of that time, right, over the Roman region. Read on.
The Jews made insurrection.
They made insurrection.
With one accord.
With what?
With one accord.
Meaning they're all making insurrection to bring him up before this man. Read on.
Against Paul. And brought him to the judgment seat.
And they bringing him to the judgment seat. Because they can't kill Paul, they're under the Roman authority. Meaning, like, we can't necessarily do the things that are all in our law to the decree, because, you know, in this society, they'll kill you. They'll lock you up. They'll do God knows what if you took a rock, if this was the ancient world, and started to stone somebody, huh? Right? You'll be all on the news. You'll be locked up. You'll be shot up. All hell will be breaking loose. Right, you know?
Saying, this fellow persuaded men to worship the Most High, contrary to the law.
Contrary to the what?
Contrary to the law.
So this was a chit-chat in the 18th chapter, and the 22nd chapter, and the 15th chapter, all over the chapters that Paul was going contrary to the law, man. But all of this was a lie. Those men had demons on them and hatred, and they were blinded through Hamashiach wa Malak Yahushua. Read on.
And when Paul was now about to open his mouth, Gallio said unto the Jews, if it were a matter of wrong,
if it was a matter of wrong,
O wickedness, O ye Jews, reason would that I should bear with you. But if it be a question of the words,
he said, if it be a question of the words
and names and of your law,
meaning if Paul went wickedness contrary to the Roman customs, I'll get up with him. I'll scourge him. I'll beat him, and I'll damn kill him, huh? But if it be a matter about your law, I have no dealings with that. I don't know the law. I'm not an Israelite. I'm not the men that know and study these things, you know?
Look ye to it, for I will be no judge of such matters.
I will what?
For I will be no judge of such matters.
So they had to day by day, week by week, keep grabbing up Paul, taking him to all these councils. Now these white men didn't know the law, man. So they had to damn have insurrection, blowing out the cities, raging, yelling, tumults, demons, uprisings, uproars, just to prove Paul was off. But they could not prove Paul was off, man. Right, Vidor?
And he drave them from the judgment seat. Then all the Greeks took Pseudonis, the chief ruler of the synagogue, and beat him before the judgment seat.
Right, they beat Pseudonis, man. Right, and he was over the church. So they sitting up there, they beating him now, But the Lord told Paul he had many people in the city, and nothing was going to happen to him. Pick up where you left off, King.
Acts 23 or Acts 15?
23.
Acts chapter 23, verse 8. For the Sadducees say that there is no resurrection, neither angel nor spirit.
So you had the Sadducees and you had the Pharisees. The Pharisees, they believe in the law, they believe in spiritual things, and they believe in the angels. But the Sadducees, those are carnal men. Right, Vidor?
But the Pharisees confess both, And there arose a great cry, and the scribes that were with the Pharisees part arose, and strove, saying,
Hold on, read on.
We find no evil in this man.
What did they say?
We find no evil in this
Oh,
man.
Paul's changing around the law.
We find no evil in this
Yo,
man.
Paul, what do we not finding no evil in him, man? Right? What's going on? What's the big uprising, the big uproar going on about Paul? Read on.
We find no evil in this man. But if a spirit or an angel hath spoken to him, let us not fight against God.
Let us not fight against the Most High. Meaning, who are we to come up against the Most High God, man? The Most High God came to you with a trance and a vision. The Most High God came to you with a prophet. The Most High God came to you with counsel. Who are we to forbade the Spirit? That's what Peter said, man. Who are we to forbade water and flesh and blood, man? When you go to the book of Acts, man, the 10th chapter, right, verse 45 all the way down. Now go back to the book of Acts chapter 15.
Acts chapter 15 and verse number 3. And being brought on their way by the church, they passed through Phoenicia and Samaria, declaring the conversation of the Gentiles. They caused great joy unto all the brethren. And when they were come to Jerusalem,
Right?
they were received of the church and of the apostles and elders. And they declared all things that God have done with them.
Right.
But there rose up certain of the sect of the Pharisees,
Of the Pharisees.
which believed, saying that it was needful to circumcise them and to command them to keep the law of Moses.
So now it's a controversy going on, man. Because these men don't really know what's going on. Go to the book of Ephesians chapter 3 and verse number 1. Ephesians chapter 3 and verse 1. So it's a controversy going on, man.
The book of Ephesians, chapter 3 and verse 1. For this cause, I, Paul, the prisoner of Yahushua Mashiach,
Right.
for you Gentiles, if ye have heard of the dispensation, Salaki, the dispensation of the grace of the Most High, which is given to me, to you word, how that by revelation
By revelation
he made known unto the mysteries, as I write afore.
unto the mysteries. Everybody didn't know those mysteries, man. Give me 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 3. Because the gospel was hid amongst a lot of people, man. Give me the book of Galatians chapter 2 and verse number 8, man. Now read that again, King. Read that again slow.
Verse 1. For this cause, I, Paul, the prisoner of Yahushua Mashiach, for you Gentiles, if ye have heard of the dispensation of the grace of the Most High, which is given me to
Right,
you
the power
word,
to teach the gospel, read on.
how that by revelation he made known unto me the mysteries, as I write afore in few words,
Right?
whereby when ye read, ye may understand.
When you what?
When ye read, ye may
There
understand.
had to be a time frame where all of this was taken apart, man. Right? Everybody wasn't going to know in a matter of seconds, in a matter of a conversation, in a matter of a day or two. And all of this had to take place through the spirit of power of the Lord, man, and the acts of the apostles. Bring that up.
Galatians chapter 2 and verse 8. For he that wrought effectually in Peter to this apostleship.
Start at 7.
God. Verse 7. But contrariwise, when they saw that the gospel of the uncircumcision was committed unto me.
So you had two gospels, man. You had the gospel of the uncircumcision and the gospel of the circumcision. You had the uncircumcision and you had the circumcision. Circumcision by Peter, uncircumcision by Paul. You know?
As the gospel of the circumcision was unto Peter, for he that wrought effectually in Peter.
So the Lord said the gospel unto me. So Paul had a gospel, a teaching, a doctrine of the Lord. Bring that up.
2 Corinthians 4 verse 3.
Bring it up.
But if our gospel be hid,
If our gospel be hid, the Paul's gospel was the uncircumcision. If it be hid to those Jews, spread abroad, give me the book of Romans chapter 3 and verse 1. Then they're blind. Read on.
it is hid to them that are lost.
It is hid to them that are lost. Now, we could break that down spiritually and say that the gospel is hid to all of the people that want to pop willies, get high, get drunk, smoke weed, hit women to be a damn nigga in the streets and shoot dice
Right.
and rob their brother.
Right.
But on a contextual level, that gospel is what? The circumcision and the uncircumcision. You know?
In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not.
Right? Satan has came and crept in unawares and blinded those men's spirits from receiving the light of Yahushua. You know?
Lest the light of the glorious gospel of Hamashiach, who is the image of God, should shine unto them.
Should shine unto them. And the Lord doesn't want everybody to get the mysteries. the secrets, the similitudes, the allegories, the parables, and the riddles, and all of the in-depth breakdowns and dark speeches that the Most High speaks. That's why it's such a small sanctuary right here, man. Look how many people doing God knows what in the streets, man. In the same rotation, week in and week out, man, and nothing changes. Right? You have a small people that have structure, that read, that pray, that fast, that try to learn. And the Lord is only dealing with a small amount of people's spirits. Right? You can rush right there and bring that out.
The book of Romans chapter 3 and verse 1. What advantage then hath the Jew? Or what profit is there of circumcision? Much very way, chiefly, because that unto them were committed the oracles of God.
Right, the Jews had the oracles of the Lord, right? Read on.
Verse 3. For what if some did not believe?
So what if some men did not believe the gospel and understand? Read on.
Shall their unbelief make the faith of God without effect?
Meaning, is that going to stop Paul in his ministry? Just because these men that have authority don't believe these different things? Read on.
God forbid.
What did he say?
God forbid.
God forbid. And even to this very day, you got that spirit of hatred on Paul to this very day.
Right.
Oh, we don't like Paul. No, Paul said this, but we're going to do that. We don't believe what Paul said, man. A lot of people still got that spirit like they don't respect Paul, man.
Right.
And we respect Paul in the spirit.
That's
man.
right.
We respect the words of the Most High. Give me the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 1. Hold that. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 1. And give me the book of Romans chapter 15, verse 4.
1 Corinthians 11, verse 1. Be ye followers of me.
What did Paul say?
Be ye followers of me.
Right, how are you going to follow Hamashiach Ramalak Yahushua and you can't follow the king? You can't follow the officer. You can't follow the captain. You can't follow the noble. You can't follow the governor. You can't follow the priest. You can't follow the prophet. How are you going to be able to be led as sheep to the kingdom where it's nothing but green grass by the ultimate shepherd that's leading them if you don't know how to follow, man? Read on.
Even as
So like in that spirit on Jake, I ain't following nobody, man. I lead, man. You know how Jake got that damn spirit on him, man. I don't want to listen to nobody. I am the boss, man. I am the kingpin. I am that. You know how Jake is, man. And they'll shoot the hell out of that dice, right? They'll fight one another. They'll break inside of your house. They'll do all of these things off of pride, man. You know?
be ye followers of me, even as I also am even as I also am of Hamashiach.
Right, Paul wasn't a hypocrite, man. Paul went off before he knew the knowledge of the Most High. But once he knew the knowledge of Hamashiach Ramalak Yahushua, what's the fault of Paul? Where did Paul go off at, man? What can we charge Paul and say, well, you know what? Paul did this. He was a hypocrite right there. You read the law right there. We have to negate all the words of Paul. That's not in the Bible. Read on.
Back to the book of Romans chapter 3 and verse number 4. God forbid, yea, let God be true, but every man a liar.
Read.
As it is written, that thou mightest be justified in thy savings. And, so like in thy sayings, and mightest overcome when thou art judged.
Read.
But if our unrighteousness commend the righteousness of God, what shall we say? Is God unrighteous who taketh vengeance?
Right, you can rush right there. Go back to the book of Acts, chapter 15.
Back to the book of Acts, chapter 15. And
Come in the words of the Lord, brother.
number 4.
Read on.
Acts 15 and 4. And when they were come to Jerusalem, they were received in the church, like verse 5. But there rose up certain of the sect, like verse 6. And the apostles and elders came together for to consider of this matter. And when they had been much disputing, Peter rose up and said unto them, Men and brethren, ye know how that a good while ago God made choice among us, that the Gentiles by my mouth should hear the word of the gospel.
That hear the word of the gospel. Let's get that in the book of Acts chapter 10, verse number 47. So Peter is even testifying on the behalf. So I mean, it's a whole second council going on. Bring that up.
Book of Acts, chapter 10, and verse 47.
Yo,
Can any man forbid water?
what did Peter say?
Can any man forbid water?
You know, I can't stop the Gentiles, man. Who are we to stop the Gentiles? Peter was the top man. Who are we to stop the Gentiles, man? Who are we to stop the water, the cleansing, the receiving? You understand? You know?
That ye should not be baptized, which have received the Holy Ghost as well as we.
Right, meaning the Jews Jews and the Gentiles. Read on.
Back to the book of Acts, chapter 15 and verse 7.
Right?
Verse 8. And God, which knoweth the hearts, bear them witness,
Hey,
giving
sisters, come hear the words of the Lord. Right, read on.
And God, which knoweth the hearts, bear them witness, giving them the Holy Spirit, even as He
Come hear
had
the
did
words
unto
of the Lord,
us,
sisters.
even as He had did unto us, and put no difference between us and them,
Right?
purifying their hearts by faith.
Right?
Now therefore, why tempt ye God?
Why what?
Why tempt ye God?
Right, so it's an uproar in the council. Read on.
To put a yoke upon the neck of the disciples,
That's off. Read.
which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear.
And nobody could bear that yoke, man. Who could bear all of the yoke of the law, man? None of us would be able to damn move. If we had all of the yokes of all of the laws, nobody could fulfill them, man. Let's be honest. If Yahweh Shai didn't die for us, where would we be? We'll be in the world. We would give up, man. Why we keep trying to lift 1 trillion pounds that we know is useless? You go right back to your sins, man. Right back to that woman. Right back to that cigarette. And right back to that weed. Read on.
And it reads, but we believe that through the grace of the Lord Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, we shall be saved, even as they. Then all the multitude kept silence and gave audience to Barnabas and Paul, declaring what miracles and wonders God had brought among the Gentiles by them.
Meaning they're trying to see the matter, man. Okay, we hear Paul, so like we hear Peter, man. Let's see what Barnabas got to say. Go to the book of Acts chapter 9 and verse 23. Let's see what he got to say now, man. So everybody's kind of rising up. They saying they peace. Bring that up.
Book of Acts, chapter 9, and verse 23. And after that, many days were fulfilled. The Jews took counsel to kill him. But their laying await was known of Saul, and they watched the gates day and night
Right,
to kill him.
To kill Paul, read on.
Then the disciples took him by night and let him down by the wall in a basket.
Right?
And when Saul was come to Jerusalem,
When he was coming to Jerusalem,
he essayed to join himself to the disciples.
he wanted to kick it and be with the disciples. Right? He had to understand it. Read on.
But they were all afraid of him
But they were afraid of him.
and believed not that he was a disciple.
Read.
But Barnabas,
But who?
But Barnabas.
But Barnabas.
took him and brought him to the apostles.
Right, so he's a faithful brother, man. So when a faithful brother stand up, he kind of brought him to the rest of the disciples, read on.
And declared unto them
What?
how he had seen the Lord in the way.
So you have witnesses on Paul's behalf. Bring that back up.
Back to the book of Acts, chapter 15, and verse number 13.
Right?
And after they had held their peace, James answered, saying, men and brethren, hearken unto me. Simon hath declared how God at the first did visit the Gentiles, to make out of them a people for his name,
Right?
and to his agree that the words of the prophets as it is written. After this I will return and will build again the tabernacle of David, which is fallen down.
Right, so he's quoting Amos, the 9th chapter. Read on.
And I will build again the ruins thereof, and I will set it up, that the residue of men might seek after the Lord, and all the Gentiles, upon whom my name is called.
So he's kind of quoting it in the spirit, using it with the Gentiles. Read on.
Saith the Lord, who doeth all these things. Known unto God are all his works from the beginning of the world.
Right?
Wherefore my sentence is, that we trouble not them.
That we what?
That we trouble not
So
them.
even James gave his sentence. You have this witness, that witness. James speaking up, he giving his sentence about the matter. Hey, brother, come hear the words of the Lord, brother. Come up and hear the words of the Lord, brother. Where you at in this time, brother? Are we Israelites repent and keep God's commandments? All right, read on.
That we trouble not them, which from among the Gentiles are turned to God.
Right?
But that we write unto them that they abstain from the pollutions of idols, and from fornication, and from things strangled, and from blood. For Moses of old time hath in every city them that preach him,
Right, going back to Leviticus, the 17th chapter. Right, read on.
being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day. Then pleased it the apostles and elders with the whole church to send chosen men of their own company to Antioch with Paul and Barnabas, namely Judas, surnamed Barsabbas, and Silas chief among the brethren.
So you have faithful brothers that rose up to do the work of the Lord. Read on.
And they wrote letters by them after this manner. The apostles and elders and brethren send greeting unto the brethren which are of the Gentiles in Antioch, and Syria and Cilicia. For as much as we have heard that certain which went out from us have
What verse
chosen.
you on? 24. Go to the book of Acts chapter 15 and 24. Go to the book of Acts chapter 15 and verse number 24.
Book of Acts, chapter 15.
So they wrote letters a lot in the spirit, man. That's how they communicated one between another. Go to the book of 1 Corinthians 7 and verse 1. 1 Corinthians 7 and 1. Bring it up.
Acts chapter
1 Corinthians 7 verse 1.
Bring it up.
Now
What's going
concerning
on, brothers? We y'all see yourself in the sun. Where you at in that sign, brother? Verse 1. What about you, brother? Your father said, all praise to the Most High. So, what's your nationality? What's your race? You said what? African Americans. Y'all believe in the Lord? Y'all believe in the Bible? Where you find the term African American in the Bible? It ain't in there. So why do we call ourselves African American? That's what we was told. You right. Hold on, brother. Hold on, brother. Trash over here, brother. We got it. I got you, brother. We was told we was African American, but the Lord never called us African Americans. You know what the Lord called us, brother? The Israelites. The Lord called us Israelites. Israelite meaning we come from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You heard of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? These are our fathers. Now we have to go inside the Bible and prove that we actually are the Israelites. Now, when you look at this sign, didn't this happen to our forefathers? Slavery, bondage, ships, yokes, getting whooped, slain, killed, burned, hung, slavery, bondage. That happened to our forefathers, right? Go to the book of 1 Esdras, chapter 1 and verse 40. And give me the book of Jeremiah 40 and verse 4. So we're going to prove to y'all who we are actually in the Bible. Bring that up.
Jeremiah 40 verse 4. And now behold, I loose thee this day from the chains.
What the Lord say?
I loose thee this day from the chains.
I loose thee this day from the chains. Who had chains about their neck? What people had chains about their neck? What people had chains about their neck? We did. So the Lord said, I loose thee this day from thy chains. Now read that.
Book of 1 Esdras, chapter 1 and verse 40. Wherefore again, against him, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, came up and bound him with a chain.
And did what?
And bound him with the chain.
And bound him with the chain. Now we keep reading about people that keep getting bound with a chain, man. What people just keep getting bound with a chain? Us. You go to the sub-Saharan slave trade, the Silk Road slave trade, you go to all of the slaveries over all of the years, over all of the times. We've been a one in slavery, in chains and yokes. Read.
And brass, and carried him unto Babylon.
And carried him all the way, like on a slave port, all the way to Babylon, man. This is actually a slave port, man.
Right.
They used to drag men, women, and children all the way down to Lexington Market.
Right.
So that's actually history. Now we're identifying with the people in the Bible. You know what these people are called? The Israelites. Exactly. Now we're going to show you two more things about the Israelites. Go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and verse 64.
Deuteronomy 28.
Hold on, brother. One more, brother. One more.
Deuteronomy 28.
68.
And verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
The Lord gonna bring us to slavery again. Look behind you. How do we get to slavery? Let's read it in the Bible.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
That's not in the Bible.
With ships.
With ships. What people went into slavery with slave ships? Us. Well, what did the Lord call us? Israelites. Israelites. Take the flies, brothers. Take these flies. I got you. Take these flies, King. Y'all Israelites. All praise to the Most High. It's a lot. Pick up where you left off at, King. Acts chapter 15, was that 24? 24.
First Corinthians 7.
Book of Acts chapter 15 verse 24. For as much as we have heard.
Say what? You got a question? Okay, Con. Let me finish this real fast.
Con. For
Did that clarify a little bit, King? If you want a more in-depth breakdown, my Lord willing through the Spirit, we can dive into it on the Cold Cuts channel. All right, bring it out, King.
I was asking, like, why do everybody think that Jesus died for everybody? Like, a deeper meaning. I know, like, somewhat, but why do they think that?
That Jesus died for the whole world?
Yeah.
Even John 3:16. These are the precepts that have the understanding. Give me the Philippians 4:13. Bring that up.
Luke.
Because they'll take a specific precept, then they'll stretch it like a pizza boy, man. They'll just keep going like this.
Right.
And making it more and more, and they're stretching it to a big fat doctrine. Bring that up.
Book of John chapter 3 verse 16. For Yahweh so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son.
That the Lord so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. People look at precepts like this. They go to Philippians. They go to all of these New Testament precepts. They go to John, right? They go to all of these things and say, well, you know what? Maybe the Lord does love everybody. Maybe the world is talking about all humanity. Maybe he has done away with Israel.
Right.
Maybe the Gentiles are the whites. Maybe the Gentiles are the East Indians. Maybe the Gentiles are all of these Chinese people and all of these different races spread abroad, huh? Right? He's a Gentile, but he's not the Gentile of the Bible of salvation.
Right.
He's the Gentile to get a damn yoke on his back,
That's
man,
right.
and get whooped by the men of the Lord, man. Right, read on.
That whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life.
Right?
For Yahweh sent not his son into the world to condemn the world.
Right, the Lord didn't send Yahweh Shai in the world to just destroy everybody. But that's literally what's going to happen. But he didn't send them into it, he sent them in to save everybody. Right, read on.
But that the world through him might be saved. He that believeth on him
He that believeth for him.
is not condemned.
Now, people have to first understand there's context in the Bible. You don't just open up a book in the middle of the book and start reading it and apply it to you. I could write this brother a so-called letter, and I could put his address on it. That don't mean just because it flew out of his window that somebody else could pick it up and read it and think that I'm talking directly to him. Right, read on.
But he that believeth not is condemned already.
Right, you can rush right there. Bring out Philippians
4:13.
Yeah.
Philippians 4 verse 13.
Bring it up.
I can do all things through Hamashiach, which strengtheneth me.
Right, that's on Hallmark cards. That's on pillows. Right, that's in a blimp in the air, just flying with a ribbon. Right, that's spray painted all on the hoods. That's everywhere, man. That's they'll give you that as a nice little note, man, in the doctor's office when you got your toothache. You just got out of the doctor's office with your toothache, man. I hope you feel better, baby. They give you that piece of candy, you open it up, and in the middle of the candy, you say, I can do all things. Maybe I can get over this thing. Why are you sitting up there thinking of praising the Lord, and you're an old woman that's a white woman? Bring that up.
God, I can do all things through Hamashiach, which strengtheneth me.
Right.
Notwithstanding, ye have well done.
You can rest right there. So through precepts like this, indoctrination, right, through Christianity, through all these different things being spread, people started to pervert the gospel of God. Give me Luke chapter 7 and verse 5.
Luke 7 verse 5.
Bring it up.
For he loveth our nation.
No, he loveth the world.
For he loveth our nation.
He loveth one nation, man. He loveth our nation.
That's right.
The Lord did not love all the nations that are upon the earth.
right.
Hey, brother, come in the words of God, brother. Come in the
on,
words of the Lord, brother.
Come on,
Real
brother.
fast, brother. Real fast, brother. Where you at, brother? You too, sisters. Come in the words of God. Brother, be a leader, brother. Come in the words of God. Where at? Tribe of Judah. What about you, brother? Right. So why do we call ourselves all of these words and labels that are on this side? You say what? I can't hear you.
Say they don't.
I said we particularly don't.
Okay, what do you call yourself, brother?
I'm a man, I'm a human being. But again, I'm a tribe of Judah.
But you may not get to know the people on this earth that classify themselves as human beings. That don't mean you have the same lineage of people that go back all the way from the beginning. We have different fathers. Everybody has a lineage. Everybody has a different spirit and seed line that they come out of. Give me the book of 1 Esdras, chapter 3 and verse number 10. Right, so the Lord is only dealing with what? A seed line, man. You can hold that. The Lord is only dealing with a seed line. He's not dealing with all men on the earth. So we can't call ourselves Asiatic black. We can't call ourselves Egyptians. We can't call ourselves black men. We can't call ourselves 1,000 things, and we're all the same people. Doesn't that sound like confusion? So what's the common ground of who we actually are?
Let us know.
Chapter 11, and verse number 1. Now we're going to show you inside of the Holy Bible that we are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. Bring that up.
Book of Romans, chapter 11, and verse 1. I say then, have God cast away his people?
And it may feel like the Lord cast away his people. His people are the Israelites. God's chosen nation and people are the Israelites, the blacks, the Hispanics, and all of the Native Americans. You know?
God forbid.
What the Lord say?
God forbid.
God forbid that the Lord actually got rid of the Israelites, man. Read on.
For I also am an Israelite.
No, I'm a nigga.
I'm an Israelite.
I'm a nigga.
I'm an Israelite.
I am an Israelite. Well, Paul identified his nation of people. You know what he said? Give me the book of Tobit 5 verse 10. He said, you know what? I'm an Israelite, man. I'm not black. I'm not a nigga. I'm not a Negro. I'm not all of these bywords that society throws on me. I'm not Hispanic. I'm not all these different nations that creep and slither around in the dark. You know what? Who I am? I'm an Israelite, man. But how do we prove that we're an Israelite? That's the number one question. We may be lying to you. Brother, know who you are, brother, before you leave. Right? So do you care about who you are, brother? Will you let the Lord speak with true faith to understand and receive the Lord? Or are you going to walk away and get drifted back in the world?
I'm not confused on who I am.
You are confused, brother. You don't know.
Okay. Well, I'll live in that every day. I'm not
But
gonna
all the other nations, they know who they are, kid.
Right, right.
They know their fathers.
Still not gonna find it right now.
You are going to find it, brother. All you got to do is be patient.
Holy God.
Use it, these women, all that's going
The Elohim is my father. I said the Elohim is my father. Yes, that's what I said.
What's the Lord's name, brother?
He admitted.
He has many titles.
Allah, God.
He has one name. Any title. What's the true name?
God and Allah.
This is the confusion. Too busy eating French fries in America, dancing to the beat of America. You're confused. You need to commune with your brothers and get built up in the knowledge of truth.
Right,
It's
right.
only one way, brother. It is not dancing around with your enemies. It's not having fun in America.
Right.
You have to understand that we were actually slaves on the bottom of those slave ships.
That's right.
And our history is not going to be washed away, brother.
Was slaves at the bottom of those ships.
I can't hear you, brother.
Same slaves at the bottom of those ships are celebrating their heritage here as well.
That's not their heritage.
It's not.
It's not their
But you can't just disregard it. It's not their heritage.
The Lord didn't give it to him, man.
Right.
The Lord gave you Pacific heritage, traditions and customs that we have to keep. You said what?
We spoke on the same brotherhood and these different folks who has traveled across the water.
Right.
And they settled. So their heritage, they understand a bit of it. But the conversation that you're having is still one and the same conversation. So you can't just stop here with me.
Let me ask you a question. Does your heritage start from 400 years ago, brother? So their heritage for 400 to 700 years ago is not their beginning that they're dancing to, brother. You have to understand that. Do you understand that? So you have actually a time that's called BC. You have AD in the Bible. You have BC in the Bible. You have ancient wars.
Right.
You have ancient timelines
Right.
of things that are prior to what we're looking at right here, man.
Right.
So you can't look and say that this is heritage. Give me the book
I
of
can't
Deuteronomy
because I know the
33.
people who are putting it on. And I know the spirit of the people. That's why I can.
Well, the spirit of those people are lost. That's the spirit of those people.
Right.
To wear your enemy's ump around your neck is lost, brother.
Right.
You're not African. You're not an Egyptian. So why would you wear your oppressor's emblem around your neck? It's not a symbol of life, man. Don't you know that the Africans had us in slavery in the Bible? Don't you know Moses said, let my people go by the hand of those same men that you have wrapped around your neck,
David
man?
had this same symbol on his staff.
I can't hear you.
Don't you know David wore the same,
No, he
had the
didn't.
same symbol
No,
on his
he
staff. David did have, not war, but he did have the same symbol.
No, he didn't.
Continue to research.
David never wore an
Right.
neck.
They said, oh.
He never wore any damn Egyptian symbols around his neck, man.
Right.
Hey, David hated the Egyptians,
right.
man. Give me the book of Psalms, chapter 139, verse 21. And the Lord said, oh God, I hate them that hate thee,
Right.
oh Lord. Bring that up.
Agreed. You allow them to rename everything. These things were still hidden at that time.
Brother, you should humble yourself and listen so that you can receive what we're saying and then make a proper judgment. So that you got the knowledge to know that that's the oppressor's emblem around your neck and that you're dancing around confused in your enemy's land. Instead of understanding the heritage that was beaten out of you by your oppressors. Wake up and understand that these fries and that grease ain't gonna save you.
Right.
Bring that up.
Book of Psalms, chapter 139 and verse 21.
Read.
Do not, I hate them.
What did David say?
Do not, I hate them.
Hey, David said that he hated the Egyptians.
Right.
David said he hated the so-called white man.
Right.
Give me the book of Genesis, man. Chapter 43 and verse 32.
And see what that stamp look like. Is he guarding his sheep? See what the stamp look like.
Bring that up.
Genesis 43 and 32.
Bring it out.
And they set on for him by himself, and for them by themselves, and for the Egyptians which did eat with them.
So hold on. You have a so-called black man in the Bible. He's sitting down. Do you have the Egyptians? Let's see if the Egyptians love him. Dance and have a good time with him. Let's see if they sitting up there, they're playing sports together and loving one another and taking care of one another and feeding one another. Let's see the spirit of an Egyptian toward the Son of God. Bring that up.
By themselves, because the Egyptians might not eat bread with the Hebrews.
What the Lord say?
The Egyptians
Might not eat bread with the Hebrews.
The Egyptians did not even want to eat next to a Hebrew, man.
Right,
And
right.
you're a Hebrew. I'm an Hebrew. We're all Hebrew Israelites, brother. We have to embrace and love our heritage, eat with our brethren, and have fun with our brethren, man. Instead of wearing all these emblems and being lost. Give me the book of 1 Exodus chapter 3 and verse number 20. Bring it out, King.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 11 and verse 7. But against any of the children of Israel,
But against any of the children of Israel,
Shall-
we are the children of Israel. You know?
shall not a dog move his step.
Meaning nobody can come up against us, man. I wish somebody would come up against us.
That's right.
We're gonna go to war in the name of the Most High.
That's right. Against man or beast,
Read.
that ye may know how that the Lord doth put a
The
difference
Lord have put a difference.
between the Egyptians and
The
Israel.
Lord say,
Between the Egyptians and
what the
Israel.
Lord say?
Between the Egyptians and
That the
Israel.
Lord have put a strategic difference between the Egyptians and the Israelites, brother. So I wouldn't go kick down a Chinese store, put a Chinese fat man on my back, strap it to my damn chin, and wear a Chinese hat emblem on top of my head, man. I won't wear his garments. Right? I don't think any brother with his right mind with fringes that has repented is craving that red dot on his forehead, man. You know what we want to do? We want to blow the shofar. Blow the shofar, brother. This is our custom right here. Blow that, man.
Right.
Our fathers have blown the shofars, man. Our men have blown fringes, man. Our brothers have staffs in their hands, man. These are our customs. And we're not dealing with the religion of the society, man.
At all.
So you have to, brother, have to be humble and embrace yourself. Love your people. We're too busy cleaving and grabbing to everything else for hope, man. We're too busy. Where's this at, man? Look at this. We're cleaving to the Mecca. These are all of the religions and of this world that men cleave to. Aren't you tired of grabbing on to everybody else? Aren't you ready to stand up as a man? Give me the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 10 and verse 33. Bring that up, man. Bring that up. 2nd Esdras 10, verse 33.
Second
Well, the
Ezra.
Lord is going to destroy proud men, man. Bring it up.
What's that, 33?
Yeah.
Chapter 10 and 33. And he said unto me, stand up manfully.
What the Lord say?
Stand up manfully.
No, walk away.
Stand up manfully.
No, repair in the dust.
Stand up manfully.
Stand up manfully, man. Come back to the Lord in the last
That's
days, man. Repent and keep God's commandments. Stand up manfully. Read.
And I will advise thee.
And I will what?
And I will advise thee.
So nobody want to be advised. Nobody wants to be corrected. Nobody wants to hear God's laws, statutes,
Right.
and commandments, ordinances, and all decrees by Yahweh in the name of his son Yahweh Shah.
Right, right.
And if they don't want to listen, hey, the Lord said, I tell you nay, but except you repent, you shall all likewise perish.
Right.
Give me the book of Isaiah chapter 42 and verse number 13, man. Isaiah chapter 42 and verse number 13, man.
Isaiah chapter 42 and 13. The Lord shall go forth as a mighty man.
Right?
He shall stir up jealousy
Like a man of war.
He shall cry.
Yeah, roar.
He shall be found against his enemies.
Enemies.
I have long time holding my peace.
What the Lord say?
I have long time holding my
What did
peace.
Yahweh Shah say?
I have long time holding my peace.
Read.
I have been still and refrained myself. Now will I cry
Like a travailing woman.
I will destroy.
Destroy and devour at once.
Form yourself.
Form yourself.
Form yourself.
Form yourself.
Form yourself.
Form yourself.